right?
Yes.
No.
Before
No.
Bowman.
No.
Jim was before, well, no.
No,
Jim
Jim
Blanchard.
was.
Yeah, before
Jim
Blanchard.
Blanchard was last year, Catherine was the year before that.
Right.
But you don't have any interest in being chair.
I know what chairs look like. Chairs are for sitting.
Then I second the nomination.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I'll open nominations for vice chair. And that should be
Either Barbara or
Renata?
Matthew.
Barbara or Matthew. I'd like to nominate Barbara.
I would second that.
All
I
in
would vote for
favor?
that.
Aye. Okay, we're done. Great.
Secretary treasurer. Should be from Half Moon Bay.
We're not choosing a secretary treasurer, are we? I guess we
Well,
are.
Barbara can't be as,
There are 3 officers.
Okay. I nominate, I can't do that, she's not here.
That's the optimal time.
Yeah.
No,
You don't attend
But
the
somebody
meeting.
else should do it then, not me.
I would like to nominate Debbie Ruddock for secretary treasurer.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in
okay,
favor?
we
Wait,
can,
can we-
Harvey is the one who made the second. We just want to make that very clear in the minutes.
Also, I want to make clear that they have modified the responsibilities, because when I accepted that position, I realized there were some significant fiduciary responsibilities that seemed above and beyond what a board member should do. And
Right.
so they have now modified that.
I
So,
remember you're doing that, that was very helpful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so, just.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so it's done then.
And I nominate everyone else to be directors, and that means they'll tell the rest of us what to do.
Right.
That's a heavy responsibility.
Okay, the next is item 1C.
Yes, hey.
Oh,
Are you gonna do that? Adopt a resolution commending John Zabo.
Yeah, I would request the chair to read out the resolution.
Okay,
We have John Zabo with us, who's put in 16 years and 4 months of service at SAM, and I'd like the chair to
okay.
read out the resolution.
It's a Budge's County.
John, it's an honor, it is an honor to pass this resolution. I got to know you a little bit more during the campaign.
Oh, yeah.
I was really,
The one that came in just out of 5.
I was really impressed by your honesty, your straightforward, direct manner, and your stand on issues, so thank you for that. For 16 years and 4 months of service at the Sewer Authority Midcoast, resolved by the Board of Directors of the Sewer Authority Midcoast, San Mateo County, California, that whereas John Zabo started with SAM on September 22nd, 2003, and will retire on January 11, 2020, whereas John served as Collection System Maintenance Worker 1 from September 22, 2003 to January 21, 2005, as Collection System Maintenance Worker 2 from January 22, 2005 to November 9, 2012, and as Lead Collection Worker from November 10, 2012 to January 10, 2020. Whereas John has given selflessly of his time over many years, working at all hours of the day and night, in good weather and in bad, under conditions that were sometimes unpleasant, to keep the authority's facilities running smoothly and efficiently. Whereas John has presided over and maintained a key role in reducing pump and lift station sanitary sewer overflows. Whereas John has accomplished all these tasks efficiently, smoothly, and has earned the friendship and respect of everyone at SAM. Now therefore, it is ordered as follows. This board, on behalf of the citizens of the town of Montara, El Granada, and the city of Half Moon Bay, does hereby commend John Zabo for his 16 years and 4 months of service at the Sewer Authority Midcoast, and by this resolution does hereby express its appreciation for his service to this authority, the board, and the community. The board would like to wish John well in his future personal and professional pursuits and let him know that he will be missed. A copy of this resolution shall be spread among the minutes of this authority, and the secretary of this authority be hereby directed to transmit a duplicate copy hereof to John Zabo.
You're here.
so much.
Yeah.
So John, I have a question. Are you gonna grow pumpkins here still?
Yes.
The patch is getting overgrown with weeds,
Yeah, I know.
and your pumpkins were such a joy to watch.
As long as I'm here, can I shake your hand also? Congratulations, great work.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you, everybody. I tell the truth, I enjoyed it. Fun 16 years. Cleaning sewers, I mean, you'd think it's not really a very fun job. I don't know, I've always liked my jobs that I've done. Before that, I was 30 years at the phone company, and I liked that too. I just, it's always been a decent job. I know we've had our battles, me and the board. Some of you haven't been here when I've really been upset. The new people haven't, but it happens. So, thank you very much. And, I've got something else I want to say. The other night, I was watching Stephen Colbert. I don't know if you guys saw, any of you watch Stephen Colbert. And Jane Fonda was on there, talking about how on Friday nights, her and Lily Tomlin and other famous people get together in front of the Capitol for something they call Fire Drill Fridays. It's to try to protest the government, telling them they're not doing enough for climate change. And then there's that girl from Sweden, Greta Thunberg. She comes over here and she tells us we're not doing enough for climate change. Well, I've got the feeling that we're not doing enough for climate change. We have SAM, CCWD, Half Moon Bay, the Montero Water and Sanitary District. Every one of those, what they have in common, they have a truck fleet or a vehicle fleet, every one of them. And none of them that I know of have electric cars. I know I have an electric car. Director Lumen has an electric car. I've got solar panels on my house at home. But the amount of pollution that I caused before I even had the electric stuff, or this solar stuff, is so tiny compared to what the city of Half Moon Bay does, or Sam does, or Montero does. You know, we cause so much pollution. Our entire range for like Sam and, well, CCWD and Montero are even smaller than Sam's range. From Miramoni's Point Road to the Canoff Lift Station in Montero, that's it. Round trip, maybe 15 miles, I don't know exactly what it is. Our bolts, me and Director Loman's bolts, mine goes 220 miles. So that's what, 10, 12 trips or 15 trips, round trip it could make, and we wouldn't have to plug it in. There's always that complaint with electric cars that, oh, you can't go that far. Well, how far does somebody that worked for Sam have to go? If you're going more than 20, 30 miles in a day, you aren't doing your job. You know, you're just driving them down the highway. Stop and do your work, you won't go so many miles. Anyway, and solar, I've heard there's a rumor going around we might be doing some solar work here at the SAM, the sewage plant. I mean, yeah, it's great, but we should do more. My thing is when we get to like replacing a vehicle, it's such a simple thing to do. Instead of buying this, car or truck, whatever, buy a solar powered car or an electric car. The Chevy Bolt, they're gonna come out, that's what I have and Director Lumen has. They're coming out with a Bolt Menlo, they call it. It's going to be a utility vehicle. They're basically just taking the Chevy Bolt, taking out the back seat, and you can put toolbox stuff in, drive around in that. Most of our work can be covered that way. We don't have to be driving giant trucks up and down the coastside, to get 10, 15, 20 miles a gallon. All those trucks, I mean, we have 6 or 8, Half Moon Bay's probably got 6 trucks. That's a lot of trucks driving them the highway, just polluting. We gotta start doing something more, as an agency or as a, community to fight the climate change. Anyway, next time we're replacing stuff,
Okay.
keep it in mind. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
And thank you for keeping me employed all these years.
And John, now you can sit in the audience and keep us on track.
Yeah. Now I can't get in trouble for saying stuff.
We'll move on to the consent agenda.
Public service.
Public comment?
Oh, public comment, thank you. Is there public comment?
This falls under the category also of public service. speaking of Stephen Colbert, I was watching Stephen Colbert nonchalantly and got trapped into watching one of the new Charmin tissue commercials, which are so lovely and inviting. And I was getting through that, and at the end of the commercial, they break to a new segment of the commercial. And it says literally, if you want to be really clean, use our new flushable wipes. So, I would like to request an agenda item for the next meeting where our board writes letters to either the State Special District Association, the county, the state, whoever we can come up with at the meeting, and start writing letters saying this is exactly the wrong thing to do. It's bad enough for us, if you have a septic system, you're probably just taking yourself out. So don't use flushable wipes. They're flushable, they're not dissolvable.
Right.
And all of our newsletters, I think, cover that all the time. We mention it at the meetings, so to the public, don't buy them. Don't do anything with them. So I request an agenda item to you or Catherine.
Let's write to the manufacturers too.
Well, I think
Invite
we
the
should,
manufacturer and say, look what you're doing to our systems.
we should send we should write a letter, we should send it to the manufacturer, our state representatives, and the gal who came and did a presentation on that to us that we funded, we gave money to. And, then hopefully the city council will take it up. I know we'll bring it up at MWSD and GCSD and Midcoast Council, we can try that, maybe one of the things we can talk about when we're talking about in the budget is taking a few ads out, in the review. The other people we should send a letter to is the review and, Coastside Buzz. And, maybe we should talk about, figuring out how to do a little ad in the review that would get that, or maybe we could even go and ask, New Leaf to do it as a printout on their, register receipt.
Because I decided to show the commercial at the Montera meeting on Thursday. So I went to YouTube, and I didn't see that one, but there were a whole bunch of other ones, and they all have their same silly little ad, and they all tack on the same thing at the end, which is use our flushable wipes.
let's
So they've
agendize
Our
it.
flushable, non-dissolving.
Yes,
Yeah.
and so they've launched an entire campaign on this.
Okay,
So-
is there
why
some
don't we
kind of
agendize
lobbying
that
Yes.
then? Because we can't really
Yeah.
discuss it since
Well-
it's not on the agenda, but we can put it on the next agenda.
And so I have a comment, and that is, I went, and look, Keishan gave my husband and I a mini tour of the new turbo blowers. They are amazing. Keishan has done a phenomenal job on the financing, so he didn't have to come to any of the districts. We not only have, primary redundancy, we have secondary redundancy for the plant for something that's a critical function. And, Keishan, tell everyone just briefly, if you would be so kind, about the financing that you arranged.
So these turbo blowers are actually replacing the existing centrifugal blowers that we've got. The centrifugal blowers were installed way back in '89. They've almost lost their useful life, and therefore we decided to go for the state-of-the-art technology, which is the turbo blowers. And these were financed jointly by PG&E and the manufacturer. PG&E had done an evaluation of the centrifugal blowers and estimated the savings what Sam would incur with the turbo blowers, and they came up with an incentive of about $20,000 approximately. And they have also sanctioned a loan of about $150,000, which is spread out over 5 years. And the way it works with PG&E is, this is in our bill, we need to pay, we have an energy saving of about approximately $3,000 per month. So that is a part of our bill for about 5 years, that they give it as a loan to Sam. So $150,000 is not what they give as a lump sum to Sam, but in the bill, the reduction in savings that we get, we give it back to PG&E as a loan amount. So that is the 150,000, and the balance 250,000 is the amount which we got from the manufacturer at no interest rate for 5 years. So we got it
And
complete.
we're using about a third as much electricity as we were before,
Yes.
correct? For the same function, better equipment.
Yes, and it's amazing, the state of our technology. You can see the digital display which shows that the motor is actually running at about 25,000 RPM, 30,000 RPM, almost like a turbojet.
And it's so quiet, you
And
can
it's
just
quiet.
walk in there and hold a conversation.
So I would request each one of you to have a look at it. We are in the process of getting the floor painted and all that, but still the equipment by itself is something worth watching.
I did a tour today as well, and it was
Painting,
really interesting, yeah.
painting the floor reduces the dust and prolongs the life and reduces the, maintenance.
Maintenance, the turnover time of the filter and all that, so.
Excellent.
They're also up
Yeah.
off the floor, so that there's some protection in case of water and so forth, so.
Great.
There's a lot of great things going on.
As long as we're talking about green energy, does Sam, has it opted up with Peninsula Clean Energy for 100% renewable? Does anyone know the answer to that?
Do you have a conflict of interest on this?
Yes, I do. I serve on the board of PCE. I personally have opted up. It costs 1 cent a kilowatt hour more to guarantee that all the electricity you are using is completely renewable, wind and solar.
I recall we did that under Beverly.
You did?
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you.
I think we did only 55% or 60%, we haven't done 100%
Yeah, the
because,
city is 100.
because the amount was, what we would have to pay to PCND was a lot larger than what we were saving, but we can revisit that and see that.
It's slightly more expensive than what
Correct.
PG&E charges, but only slightly, but it's 100% renewable.
Slightly on a household scale is not slightly on a plant scale.
Yeah, but we can revisit that and see.
Good look at the
But we
figures.
can put it on the agenda.
Okay,
Great,
yes, put it on the agenda, please.
all right.
And you can come and sit in the audience if you're not sitting up.
Okay.
Do we have other public comment? A lot of public here tonight, sort of public. No?
Deep Sand State.
Okay, we'll move on to the consent agenda.
We've got convene in closed session first.
I gotta go home and watch TV
Is
some
it
more.
written that way?
That's
John, thank you very much.
Watch that game.
Don't talk about the game,
So it's
people
on
are
the,
taping
it's
it.
on the, no, I believe you, I just don't have it on this.
That's interesting. On screen, it's different than it is on paper.
So are we convening in closed session first?
We could, if it's the pleasure of the board, if you wanted to do that, because then we can
It's
let
different.
Mr. Boucher go home.
Why don't we do that then?
Good.
We can rearrange
You wanna run
the
tonight, Susan?
order
Since you already have
of
the chair?
the agenda, if that's the board's pleasure.
That's interesting that it was different on the
Really
printed
probably.
versus
It's different on the screen?
Yeah. Good stuff.
Yeah,
I think
Susan?
so
the
let's
online version
Debbie's
convene
not
in
here to
closed
sign
session.
this.
No, it's right here, there's
The
no
online
closed
version
session
says
on that.
9.
There's
Unless
no
I-
closed session on the online version.
Oh, you
Maybe
know,
you
You
were
must be seeing
looking
the
at
last
the
one.
minutes.
I'm looking at the wrong
Can I-
one.
Okay.
Wait,
You must have
Somehow
looked at the
it-
last
Do we,
Somehow I
do you wanna,
put- I-
these folks,
Pushed the
We don't know what we're
2020
doing.
one.
yeah, we are,
wait,
And I
she
didn't, and it
was looking
came
at
up
the wrong one. She was
November
looking
Yeah.
at the
25th,
No, sure, no, it's
software.
right, yeah.
I know, that's.
Okay.
So, direct.
So do you
We
wanna
go back
continue
and
with the
start
open?
over.
So if it's the board's pleasure, we could skip to item 9, or we could just proceed through the agenda. It's
I would
completely
prefer
up to
to
the board.
skip to item 9, and that way, our attorney, Mr. Boucher, can, while the board is fresh, can present this stuff to us, and then we can go on.
Okay,
Closed session?
so we go to closed session.
Okay.
Here is regular business. Item A, approve amendment of contract with Management Partners for finance and accounting services through June 30, 2020, and authorize general manager to execute the agreement. There is an attachment to the agenda.
Can, Madam Chair, can we first come out of,
Oh.
announce coming out of closed session?
Oh, I'm
then
sorry, we
proceed to
came
that?
out of closed session and we are back into regular business. No action having been taken under closed session.
Consent agenda?
Have we voted on the consent?
Consent agenda?
No, no.
Should we start with the consent
Oh,
agenda?
okay.
Three?
That's right. We will move into the consent agenda. There are 5 items. Approved minutes of December 9, 2019, regular board meeting. Approved disbursements for January 13, 2020. Review and expense reports for November and December 2019. Or revenue and expense reports for November and December 2019. And approve the schedule of board of director meetings for 2020 attached. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Director Rareback, second by Director Lohman. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. All right. Finally, we're at regular business. Approve amendment of contract with Management Partners for finance and accounting services through June 30, 2020, and authorize general manager to execute the amendment.
Sam executed the existing contract with Management Partners way back in June 2019 for an amount of $70,000 to provide support for financial audit. And now with the elimination of the position of Supervisor of Administrative Services, staff needs further assistance from Management Partners to prepare for the 2021 budget. And therefore, the amendment has been put up for approval. The amendment for this additional services is $65,000, which brings the total amount of contract with Management Partners to $135,000. So staff recommends that the Board of Directors authorize the General Manager to execute the amendment of $65,000 to the existing contract with Management Partners so that they could provide us support for the budget.
So moved.
And how will this help with the, well, so moved by Director Penrose, second?
Second.
Second by Director Rareback, discussion. How will
So we're gonna
this,
get an audit?
how will this,
Is that what you're telling me?
how will this help with the accounting process and where we are?
It's going to ensure that we meet our deadlines, the timelines, what has been indicated in the past, so the budget can be completed well in time, take it to the management, take it to the member agencies, and discuss it in finance committee meetings and bring it to the board for approval.
So it will,
We will maintain those timelines.
We will stay on those
Yes.
schedules, okay. Okay, any more comment? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Boy. Item 4B, establish board operations committee and finance committee as standing committees, set time and place for meetings and appoint directors.
So we have the board operations committee and the finance committee, which has been operational. They've been meeting pretty regularly over the last year, so as a practice, we need to bring it back to the board to see whether there are any changes, whether members would like to change, or has been brought to the board again. The same ad hoc committees, which are board operations and finance committee meetings.
I think it would be unfair to have directors Blanchard on the operations committee and Boyd on the finance committee, since they're no longer regular SAM board members.
Is it possible to designate like one person from each agency to be on each committee, to say generally,
Yeah,
rather than giving the names?
I think
except
it's,
somebody needs to be named, I think, or they're gonna say, well, I don't wanna do it this month, and the other, it should
Well,
be
shouldn't it
somebody's
be our
responsibility.
decision whose responsibility it is, rather than Sam's decision to, I mean,
Oh, yeah,
so if we say El Granada has a responsibility, or GCSD has a responsibility to provide one person for this and one person for that, it's not Sam's job We
But
are
no, no.
agreeing to send someone to each of those committee meetings.
Except I think it's important, there are two representatives from each agency, and I think it's better to have a primary with an alternate, so that the person with the experience stays, because a lot of this
Wouldn't the
continues.
agency feel the same way?
Pardon?
Wouldn't the agency feel the same way, that having the primary person at the committee meeting was the most valuable? I mean, wouldn't that, why would the agency decide randomly to send, you know, we all believe that having consistency on a committee like that is important. So I'm just not sure we have to specify.
I
I hear
agree,
your
but
point, but
I think the public point of view and seeing who's on committee members, who's on committees, I think there's a certain responsibility to the public so that they know who to expect to be there in
if
the
anyone
event.
looks at our finance committee and our operations committee, okay, I'm fine with that. I think
but
that we
who-
could work it out in a way that would be best
I'm
for
willing to
us.
stay on board operations, and Director Penrose, what about you?
I'd like to stay on
Okay, so,
operations.
what about from Granada? Do you guys just wanna flip a coin every meeting, or does
You know,
one of
I
you
think
want
it's
to?
important for us to decide who's gonna be on finance and who's gonna be in operations. I'm not saying we're gonna
Okay.
flip a coin, I'm taking it seriously, but I'm saying we in Granada can say, okay, Barbara, I'll continue to go to finance committee, and either Matthew or Jim will go to the other.
Well, why don't you let us know who the primary is going to be then?
Okay, well, I think we can say I will be the primary in the finance committee,
Okay.
and
Would you-
either Matthew or Jim will be at the operations committee.
We need to give Jim the opportunity to say,
Decline? Sure.
yeah, whether he can,
Um,
wants to and can continue.
Okay, and, Rick, would you like to be on the finance committee?
That's not my strength, but,
That's fun.
I mean-
we could talk, you know, why don't we bring it up Thursday at the meeting?
Sure.
And,
My
get somebody-
preference is that a SAM board member is on the
Mhm.
committee, because you're more familiar. I'm happy to do it because I attend all the meetings, and so I can, the committee, there isn't as much fill-in
Mhm.
for a naive committee member as there is for, somebody who doesn't attend SAM board meetings. And I'm willing to bet, our board members don't watch the SAM board meetings unless they really can't sleep, in which case they don't get any much knowledge anyway.
Why don't we chat about it Thursday?
Okay. Sounds good, we will continue this item.
So I have a finance committee meeting scheduled for this Thursday, so we will continue with the members which are there in the last year.
And I will attend the finance committee meeting on Thursday.
What about
Debbie?
Director Ruddock?
So,
Yeah.
yeah, so the board's action could be to establish the committees as standing committees with subject matter jurisdiction and the meeting times. It's not essential that you designate who the members are, it's just that the process will be the member agencies will decide who, and, I mean, the board could say it should be SAM board members, the member agencies can decide whether they agree with that or not. But that obviously is preferable for the reasons that Chair Slater Carter said.
And I think it's
But
gonna
the
be obvious
action-
to the member agencies as
but-
well.
The key, what this board is doing is establishing the committees, it's not establishing necessarily the membership of the committees. Once you
Establishing them
designate.
as standing
Standing
committees,
committees.
as opposed to.
As opposed to-
Standing committees, yes, standing committees, yes, exactly, standing committees and with meeting times and subject matter jurisdiction.
So
Those
moved.
two. Okay.
Well, let me go back to, okay, so the, having the third Thursday of every month for the SAM, works for me because that's the same day as an MWSD meeting. The fourth Monday is the same as generally the SAM. Okay, that works then, because they coincide with other meetings. So we have a so moved, who made the motion?
I did,
Barbara?
I'll second.
And Director
without the
Penrose?
appoint directors.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries.
Now have
Update
standing committees.
on emergency digester cleaning project.
We had a discussion with the contractor today, and it appears that we should be able to start the digester cleaning either latest of in January or during the early part of February. They're already in California working on another job. They need to have a job completed with East Bay Mud, but they're not very sure whether they're going to pursue that, if there are any cancellations, and if that doesn't take place, then ours will be much sooner. But worst case scenario, if they pursue that, then it will probably be early February.
Great.
I have a favor to ask, for easier record searching on digital agendas, is when, like tonight, you've got an agenda item but no report, you would be so kind as just to put in the title and then, page intentionally left blank or something, so that in the when people are looking this stuff up in the future, they realize it wasn't left out accidentally, but that there was no written report to be made, it was an oral report. Review, item 4D, review and approve the proposed scope of work for wastewater management specialists service through December 31, 2020.
In the last board meeting on December 9th, 2019, the board authorized the general manager to issue a purchase order to Wastewater Management Specialists LLC for an amount not to exceed $390,000 for the ongoing organizational and management consultant services. It was decided at that point of time that staff will bring a detailed scope of work for the board's review. And therefore, the scope of work has been attached to this staff report, and your staff is ready to answer any questions, and we also have Mr. Dan Child from Wastewater Management Specialist along with us, who could also answer questions.
I will say that I do not consider this scope of work as particularly significant improvement from the last one when I voted no. I still am in favor of having this work done, and I'm prepared to vote yes, but I feel as if this is still a vague list of tasks that includes a couple that I have concerns about. But again, I think he will be helpful to getting, things are working much better at SAM already, and I think we need to continue the support and the expertise from him to help us move forward. I'm just a little disappointed in this list of tasks. I think we had talked about how there's really no need for JPA assistance, and there's a couple others here. I was surprised at the whole public relations specialist. I mean, I thought there was going to be a look at staffing needs, and maybe that would come back, but it seems like hiring a public relations specialist is maybe, concerns me as a little, that one may be more detailed than we need, because I'm not sure, there's no backup as to why that's needed and so forth, so, you know, I still remain unhappy with the level of backup, but supportive of the overall concept.
Any other comments? Then I will say, reading the January 2nd Half Moon Bay Review editorial, says exactly why we need a public relations specialist. Hearing Mr. Council Member Rareback say, let's look at whether we need to consolidate all the districts, let's get the ball rolling. Also explains that there's a lot of education that needs to be done for public relations to help people understand what SAM does and why SAM does it, and how it's different from what each of the agencies does. So I think if we don't have somebody with independent JPA experience helping to update and improve the JPA, we're going to be stuck in the same way we have been for the last quote Carl, 40 years. With the three agencies doing a slapdash version of trying to keep things moving. We need somebody with some experience who's not an attorney, who thinks from a practical operational point of view on how to make this thing work, as opposed to attorneys who are clueless for the most part about how these things would work and what the kinds of relationships and agreements that would make this thing work better. So I think both of those are
So-
very important tasks.
So we are agreeing tonight to hire a public relations specialist through a consulting contract for someone to find that person, and there's no, I mean, I hear your point, and I think we need to think about the public relations aspects of what Sam does and so forth. I just think this is kind of a backdoor way to do it. I mean, I
I
think
see
bring it to
Dan,
us as a,
I see Dan shaking his head no. Could
bring
you
it to us
respond
as
to that?
as a project or something that needs to be done. This is the first time I've ever seen it, and it's coming in through hiring someone to do it for us, rather than saying to us, do you wanna add a staff person, which in the past
Keishan
has
and
been-
Dan, if you could respond to that.
We already having discussions with the public relations specialist, we have received a proposal from the public relations specialist, we're going to bring it back to the board for approval in our next meeting. So we had basic discussions of what needs to be done, how much it's gonna cost us, and what all we're going to do over the next few months. So I think it'll be made more clear to the board in our next board meeting when we bring it and request for approval.
We discussed that in December, right?
Yeah.
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
that's where it came from, was the
That's
December
right.
board meeting, there was quite a bit of discussion on the board level about working together and having a public relations person that could coordinate the messages and maybe put mailers out and that type of thing. I would just be working with them, assisting in the direction. I was trying to give detail, and obviously I'm still missing it for you, Barbara, and I'm so sorry.
It's okay, yeah.
Well, I was getting there, but.
No, I'm
obviously
in
not,
favor of
so.
this, so
But,
let's just move
Yeah,
forward.
And, you know, on the JPA side, I went back to the original, the very first meeting I was here, when you guys gave me a list of things that you wanted me to look at. And it did not specifically say JPA, but it talked about assisting in development of agreements between the agencies, and that's kind of where I thought, okay, that's really what the JPA is supposed to do, so that's why I have that in there. It's totally the board's decision what you guys want me to work on. Kishan and I tried to sit down and work together and come up with, this is the major areas without getting into a ton of detail, because there, I mean, this is, as we've talked about when we first started, this is very much a, for lack of a better term, a touchy-feely process when you're doing a management thing. You have to identify issues and then come up with a way to address them. And at this point, a lot of those issues haven't been identified. A lot of them have, and I think we have, as you said, I think we're making some really good progress. I think there's a real change in the atmosphere that we're feeling here, which is great. So, is that scope of work hardcore exactly how it's gonna break out? I seriously doubt it. I think there's going to be some evolution, but that's where Kishan will manage what he wants me to do and have me do what he wants me to do as the manager of the organization. And obviously the board will give him direction if you guys want things to go in a certain direction.
Yeah, so this will be the broad scope of work, and like what we've discussed in the past, every second meeting of the month, Mr. Child is going to make a presentation of what has been done. So at that point of time, there'll be more discussion, and we can always say whether we're going in the right path, you want us to focus on something else a little more, then we can always do that.
Well, as I've said before, I am in favor of having him help. I think he brings a lot of great expertise and will do a good job for us, so I'm willing to move approval of this.
Okay, we
Would
have
the,
a motion.
would the PR specialist budget cost be within this budget?
No.
Extra?
And the JPA assistants would be extra as well.
No, the JPA assistants, to me, that's all part of the management assistants, helping Kishan do what he needs to do. So
Okay,
it's
great.
included.
Now, to clarify Director Clark's question, if I've understood, a hiring of public relations specialist is an outside third-party person, so that's different.
Mhm.
Whereas assistance of providing is within Mr. Child's budget. It's already in that. He's not gonna charge us extra for that.
Agreed.
And following on that, are we talking about a permanent public relations specialist for Sam?
That'll be coming up in the next board meeting. Approval of hiring a public relations specialist.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Can we run the public relations specialist job by the operations committee? I'm not on it, so rather than have it come to the board. And, you know, first time we'd see it is at the board meeting.
Well, the next operations
Yeah,
committee
it's-
meeting will be
it's on
right
the
before the
right before
board
the
meeting.
Yeah, it's on the same day as the board meeting, unless you wanna have one earlier than that, then we can have a ops committee meeting earlier, so that I could take it to the board for January 27th. We could do that,
Let's do that.
yeah, okay.
I'm not sure
I'll-
when I can do that.
I'll send out a doodle poll and then we'll work on it and see
Yeah.
whether we can meet earlier than that.
And now that we've established this, the regular meeting schedule, that would be a special meeting of the committee, just.
Right. My preference
So you know.
would be to have it before the 22nd, but,
I'll have to look at my schedule, I don't know what's going on, but it's crazy for the next couple of weeks,
yeah, so's mine, but.
you know, so I may not be able to do it.
Maybe you can do it remotely?
Or whatever that-
Yeah.
I don't know, that's what I'm saying, I have to look at my schedule and see,
Yeah.
I'm not sure what's happening.
Yeah, we could also have the request for approval, bring it to the board in the first meeting in February, and we'll have the ops committee meeting on January 27th.
Why don't we do that?
Sure.
Yeah, it's not, yeah.
Great.
we can do
So, I'm sorry, I'm running on a migraine, so did we vote on this? All those in favor, let's revote, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries, maybe twice. And that's the end of regular business, general manager's report.
You have the monthly manager's report for November 2019. The December report will be brought in the second session of January. Any questions? Staff is here to answer.
Any questions?
I have a question, just based on one of the checks that I signed. You put in an additional alarm at the facility here, a new alarm?
Actually, we do not have a burglar alarm in the office,
Oh. Sounds like a
so we've
good,
installed that now.
We do now.
We do now.
excellent.
It's not an
I'm glad I
additional.
asked, yeah.
It's not an additional, it's newly installed.
Well, that's what I mean.
Yep.
It said a new alarm, and I wondered, you know.
Correct, it's a new one.
I'm glad, good job.
Wonderful.
Yep.
Any more questions? Attorney's report.
I'm gonna defer a report. One of the things that Director Ruddick had asked for was a report on 2-year bills. The CASA State Ledge Committee will be meeting on the 22nd. That'll be before the next board meeting, so I'll bring the wealth of information I get there to the board next time and save the time tonight.
Thank you.
Okay?
Director's reports. Hearing none, topics for future
Oh, wait,
board.
just one thing, I just want to say, I also had the tour today, and I saw the new blowers, I mentioned it earlier, but I want to say, we walked around and looked at just some of the equipment, and it's great how the staff here is so helpful in showing things and explaining things, and I think you did a great job.
And the plant looks so much better than it did 3-4 years ago.
And I think we're working at getting buildings over some of that equipment that needs to be protected from the environment.
Topics for future board consideration, since we're
Yeah.
at the new year.
Dan was very kind to give us a very preliminary report on looking at sea level rise in the sand plant. And are we gonna be talking about having somebody come in as a specialist and really look at it and give us a full report, a complete professional report?
Yeah, for the whole board's edification, Commissioner Ruddick at the last meeting brought up sea level rise, and so I started doing a little bit of checking into it, and I am by no means a sea level rise expert, so what I've found we can put that much weight in, but, basically, in looking at things, it appears that the treatment plant, in a situation of the forecast of 2100, which would have about a 6.9 foot rise in sea level, and also a king tide, which is, near as we can tell, is about 6.4 feet here, would put us at about 13.5 feet of potential rise. The lowest elevation in the facility is at 14 feet. So, we're right on the brink, right on the cusp. Now, that's 2100, a lot of things can happen between now and then, but the recommendation from my standpoint is, yeah, we should look at getting somebody in here that really knows what they're talking about. I mean, this is Dan from the seat of his pants. However, there are bills in the legislature at the state level this year that are going to, if they pass, which it's assumed they will, are going to provide grant funding for impacted areas. And Director Ruddick had recommended that we wait until those happen so that we can get some money. My recommendation there was we should start looking for a consultant to help us apply for those grants and that type of stuff, because once it's available, there's gonna be a mad rush on it, and if you're not in line in time, you're not gonna get any. So that's something that I think we still need to do some staff level planning for and come back to the board for approval
There
of
was a
how to do
county
that.
sea level rise committee.
That's,
There
I
is.
used it
there's a
as
brand
board.
new commission
Yes,
also
right.
formed.
They
Yeah.
typically,
You're on. Debbie's on
the
it.
sea
Debbie
level
is on.
is only going to rise inside the bay. They haven't noticed that it's a peninsula, and the sea level will actually rise equally on both sides.
That's a miracle.
The other issue though
So,
is sea
wait
level
a
rise.
minute, let me finish. So my thought is, to get us on their radar, we should ask them to come and present.
I would
To
rather
us.
go with the commission which is being formed.
Sure.
Rather than find yet another consultant
Right,
and bring somebody in to give us more. And I'd like to make sure we're coordinated with everything the county's doing.
so, yeah, I think we need to be part of the new sea level rise commission and have them come and give regular reports here for the coastside. So that they're aware, because this is, frankly, Sam is, and the intertie are the most, and the Princeton Pump Station are the most vulnerable points of anything on the coastside.
The other issue that we have to look at besides sea level rise is groundwater.
Yep.
And that is probably a more significant, gonna have a greater impact than sea level rise is sooner. So, and that's one of the things that this new commission is doing, it's looking at that combined effect.
Exactly. Yeah, the
They
sea
made a
level rise-
presentation at
What's
the special districts chapter meeting last time. I can contact the person and ask, I'd rather coordinate through them.
That's,
I can
thank
see
you,
if he can make a specific presentation here.
thank you, it's your job now,
Yeah,
I got it.
I have one more thing.
okay?
We have two projects, maybe we just mentioned, that are, you're getting bids for the storage in El Granada, that project that is gonna happen in the next, hopefully, few months. And the IPS project is happening.
Yes, on the,
Update us on those two.
on the wet weather storage expansion project, the bids are due on January 31st. We had a mandatory pre-bid meeting on Friday, and we had 10 potential contractors who came for the pre-bid meeting. They're very much interested.
Excellent.
Yeah,
So there's a good chance that a lot of them would, at least, even if half of them apply, it would be a good number.
Great.
So once that bid comes out on January 31st, we'll bring it back to the board in the month of February.
great.
As far as Granada Force Main Segment 4 is concerned, we just issued them a notice to proceed on Friday, because there were a couple of issues going on with the bonds and the insurance. It was going back and forth. That got resolved last week. Nevertheless, the contractor was already working on the submittals, because they have to give in certain documentation for us to look at, for consultants to look at. So those have been evaluated. Those are going back and forth, and he's already placed an order for the pipes, which is a long lead item. So he hopes to start work starting February.
And where will people see that will be very visible to the public, right? Where will that be? Where will it be on Route 1?
Where will it be? It will be just, if you see Rocket Farms, it's just outside Rocket Farms, starting from there, going north. It's a junction structure there near Rocket Farms. There's a manhole there, which is pretty close to the manhole where presently the leachate is being delivered there. It's the next manhole to that, starting from there, going north.
Great.
So we're going to have signs that inform
Oh,
the
yes.
public
Oh, yeah.
that this is,
They would have signs saying that's the project, and if they have any concerns to call Sam office, our usual boards would be there,
okay,
more than one locations.
good.
Thanks, I think it's good to tell people what's happening.
Yes, they would definitely have.
Your dollar's at work.
Yes.
Good. Any more directors' reports, comments? Okay, and we're done with public comment, oral communication, hearing none, convene in open session, we're here, adjournment, bye-bye.
All right.
Good night.